An object lesson in the art of building a performance roadster, the Porsche Boxster continues to show its rivals the way. The Germans have upped the technology count across the board on this improved second-generation car, with resulting improvements to performance and efficiency, but the reasons you'll want one haven't changed. This is still mid-engine magic. Today, Porsche is a significant world automotive player, but the reasons why have less to do with the car everybody knows it for, the iconic 911, and more to do with this one, the Boxster. Now, this was a car that brought Porsche ownership within reach of the man in the street, offering the marque's classic design, ability and technology at relatively affordable prices. Now, while the original version, launched in 1996, was no ball of fire, progressive incarnations have just got faster and faster. Purists used to Porsche sports cars with their engines slung out over the rear axle took a little time to adjust to the mid-engine Boxster concept, forgetting that the very first car to bear the name Porsche was in fact a mid-engine sports car, the legendary 356 No. 1. Those with ready checkbooks, however, had no such hang-ups and were even prepared to put up with a few build quality glitches before the Germans tightened things up for the launch of the second generation Boxster model in 2004, which was followed a year later by the debut of the Cayman Coupe version. A power upgrade in 2006 improved things still further, but it wasn't until 2009 that the Boxster was really perfected. Greater build quality, subtly smarter looks, greener emissions and even more power were complemented by key options like the PDK high-tech semi-automatic gearbox and a limited slip differential to keep this car well ahead of the chasing pack. Let's see why. Welcome to a performance masterclass. While the rear-engined 911 approach might sometimes seem more fun, it can never really quite match the mid-engine Boxster's perfect balance and unflappable poise that remains undaunted even if you play with the wonderfully weighted and now more agile steering when you shouldn't power on in a slippery corner, say. The car just simply shrugs its shoulders and works with you, particularly if you've ticked the box for the optional limited slip differential. Now, some of the credit for this can be laid at the door of the industry-leading Porsche PSM stability management system that has now been further improved by the addition of brake preloading that primes the fantastic brakes in anticipation if the driver lifts off the throttle suddenly. Now, all of this is just as well given the extra power on offer in this version, the entry-level model now featuring a 2.9 rather than 2.7 litre six-cylinder unit, now developing 252 brake horsepower. That's a 10 brake horsepower increase. That means 62 miles an hour from rest in under 5 seconds, even with an entry-level model, on the way to a top speed of 162 miles an hour. Porsche is the only one of the German makers that doesn't limit its cars to 155. This faster Boxster S model ditches its old 3.2 litre engine in favour of a higher tech direct injection 3.4 litre unit, putting out 306 brake horsepower. That's a 15 brake horsepower increase. Now, it's only half a second quicker than its stablemate from rest to 62 miles an hour, but the mid-range punch advantages are more pronounced, and it's all achieved with a throatier, sweeter exhaust note thanks to a bigger exhaust. The handling advantages are greater as well, thanks to tweaks on the anti-roll bar settings, the damper settings and the spring settings, all done to match the increased performance. The resultant package is hard to beat, with only 39 brake horsepower less than the entry-level 3.6 litre 911 Cabriolet that would cost you over £30,000 more. Even more shocking is the news that if you go for the automatic version of this car, it's faster and can be even more fun, courtesy of the semi-automatic twin-clutch PDK transmission we first saw on the 911. Now, this hydraulically actuated transmission uses twin clutches that work on the odd and even gears respectively, smoothly pre-selecting them so that the next gear is selected even before you've left the last one. Now, so slick is this system that it can shave 0.1 seconds from the 0 to 62 mile an hour time of an expertly driven 6-speed manual car. And you can shave a further 0.2 seconds off that time if you tick the box for the optional launch control, which manages traction off the line. Now, personally, I'd still prefer a 6-speed manual gearbox like the one I've got here. But if I lived in town, I'd seriously now have to consider the PDK option. As you can see, the differences that this revised re-engined second generation version enjoys over its predecessor are slight. You've got these revised headlamps with built-in indicators that are similar to the units that we used on the Carrera GT supercar. There are also subtle tweaks to the bumpers and the front air intakes, and you've got in vogue LED lighting for the front side lamps and the lamps at the rear. Traffic police will be pleased to note that, like other Porsches, this one has a movable rear spoiler that rises to give you away at speeds of above 75 miles an hour. Unlike Mercedes SLK or BMW Z4 rivals, there's no folding metal roof nonsense with this Boxster's fabric drop top. You can raise or lower it at speeds of up to 30 miles an hour, and though when it's in place, refinement isn't quite as good as would be the case with a metal top, it's impressively close to it. The whole process is electrically operated, of course, but you do have to manually start or finish it with a clip that slots into place here. Inside, the cabin is basically the same as Porsche's Cayman Coupe, which means that unlike a 911 Cabriolet, you only get 2 seats. Now, those that see the 911's 2 cramped rear berths as irrelevant should switch from one car to the other for a week and see how often they throw a jacket or a briefcase in the back, or, as in my case, carry young children. Without these rear seats, Porsche Boxster owners must distribute their luggage between a 150-litre section at the front and a 130-litre compartment at the rear. Now, neither compartment's specially large, and owners would be well advised to buy the Porsche luggage set to make maximum use of the space that is available. The driving position is just about perfect, thanks to a steering wheel that adjusts for both rake and reach and adjustable seat height. Although those well acquainted with the offerings of Colonel Sanders might struggle to fit into the optional sports seats. List prices lie in the £35,000 to £40,000 bracket, and there's the usual choice between Boxster and Boxster S. Now, to try and put those prices in perspective for you, if you're looking at an entry-level Boxster 2.9, you're also looking at a premium of around £1,500 to £2,000 over equivalently powered Mercedes SLK, BMW Z4 or Audi TT Roadster rivals, which doesn't sound too bad. If you're looking at Boxster S ownership, then that premium rises to around £3,000 over comparable BMW Z4 or Mercedes SLK models. The significant price premium of the Boxster S model doesn't really buy you very much more in terms of extra equipment apart from part leather upholstery. Still, the range is reasonably well kitted out with features like alloy wheels, a high-performance stereo, climate control and that electrically operated fabric roof. Impressively, for a roadster, there are even curtain airbags to complement the twin front and side ones. Then, of course, there's the endless options list, which really can leave you spending a great deal more than you thought you were going to, and wondering whether, after all, you shouldn't have stretched to a 911. Add the PDK gearbox, the launch control and the limited slip differential that many owners will want, and you're looking at paying well over £3,000 more, with an extra £2,000 for the latest PCM satellite navigation system. A further plus side to Porsche's tinkering under the bonnet of this Boxster is improved efficiency. Now, a roadster this quick is never going to be an environmental hero, but 31 miles to the gallon on the combined fuel cycle for the Boxster 2.9, together with 221 grams per kilometre of CO2 emissions, is a pretty good showing. That's a 10% improvement on the equivalent version of the original second generation Boxster model. If you go for the 3.4 litre Boxster S version, you're looking at a 15% improvement, and that means a fuel consumption that's pretty much the same as the 2.9. You're looking at about 30 to the gallon on the combined cycle, and CO2 emissions of 223 grams per kilometre of CO2. And if you go for the PDK semi-automatic gearbox, the car impressively is even greener. Insurance groups, they range between 18 and 19. Residual values are somewhere between 51 and 54%. Surprisingly, that's very slightly behind an equivalent Mercedes SLK or an Audi TT Roadster. And as far as reliability is concerned, well, the JD Power Customer Satisfaction Survey in America found that Porsche was the most reliable brand on the market. Enough said. With more power, greater efficiency, the twin-clutch PDK gearbox, launch control, the limited slip differential and subtly refreshed styling, this improved second-generation Porsche Boxster is better than ever. What will continue to give it the edge over its rivals, however, is the inherent rightness of its mid-engined rear-wheel drive layout, its sparkling chassis and the sheer fun that they serve up for the person behind the wheel. Bottom line, this remains the best roadster you can buy. Is it the best car Porsche makes? You might say so. Is it worth the small premium over its rivals? Undoubtedly.